Virgin CEO was forced to go on a date, but falls in love instantly. Months later, girl is pregnant with his baby. A famously private billionaire CEO is dragged into one staged night to calm the press, and walks away shaken, not with a headline, but with a real, dangerous feeling. The woman he met that night is a sharp, struggling event planner who never wanted to be anyone's prop. Months later, she finds out she's pregnant. Suddenly, the board, a ruthless rival, and a mother who will do anything for the company all close in. There are doctored emails, a planted photo, and a family secret that changes everything. Can a man who's never loved risk his empire for a child? And is the baby even really his? Drop a comment below and share which part of the world you're tuning in from today. If you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to subscribe for more. Alexander Vale commanded the stage like he commanded everything else in his life, with precision, control, and an air of untouchable authority. His voice carried through the grand ballroom of the Mountain Vista Resort, where hundreds of investors hung on his every word. "Market discipline isn't just about numbers," he said, his perfectly tailored Tom Ford suit catching the spotlight. "It's about unwavering commitment to principle, even when the market tests your resolve." From the podium, he could see the sea of faces. Hedge fund managers, venture capitalists, institutional investors, all drawn to Vale Global's annual retreat like moths to a flame. His rehearsed smile never wavered as he clicked through his presentation, each slide a testament to the company's relentless growth. A question came from the audience about recent market volatility. Alex answered with the same measured control he applied to everything. "Uncertainty breeds opportunity for those who maintain their course." The applause that followed his keynote was thunderous, but Alex barely registered it as he made his way through the crowd, deflecting congratulations with practiced ease. His mind was already on the board meeting scheduled for later. That evening, in a private boardroom overlooking the resort's snow-capped mountains, the facade began to crack. "The tabloids are having a field day." Bernard Matthews, one of the senior board members, tossed a magazine across the polished table. Alex didn't need to look at the headline. He'd seen enough of them lately. Vivian Vale, seated at the head of the table, remained eerily still. His mother's perfectly coiffed silver hair and Chanel suit couldn't mask the steel in her spine. The public perception is becoming problematic. The public's perception has nothing to do with our performance. Alex countered, his voice tight. "Our numbers speak for themselves." "Numbers aren't everything, Alexander." Vivian's perfectly manicured nails tapped against the wooden table. "The Matthews Fund vote is in 6 weeks. We need their support for the Asian expansion." "I have a suggestion." Catherine Chen, another board member, leaned forward. "The Children's Hospital Gala is next month. It would be advantageous if you attended with a suitable companion. Someone vetted, of course. Just one night, one photo opportunity." Alex's jaw clenched. "You want me to parade around with some stranger for PR? We want you to show investors that you're human." Bernard countered. "One evening, Alexander. That's all we're asking." "This is absurd." Alex stood, pacing the length of the room. "I won't. Sit down." Vivian's voice cut through his protest like a blade. "The Matthews vote requires unanimity. Without my support—" The threat hung in the air, unfinished but clear. Alex turned to the window, his reflection ghostly against the darkened glass. His mother had always known exactly where to apply pressure. "One evening," he finally said, each word tasting like ash. "You'll have your photo opportunity. But after that, my personal life remains my own." The drive back to his penthouse was a blur of city lights and simmering rage. Alex stood in his living room, Manhattan sprawled out beneath him like a carpet of stars. The space was immaculate, designed to within an inch of its life, and utterly empty. His eyes fell on a silver-framed photograph on his desk, one of the few personal items he kept. In it, a young boy in a too-large suit stood alone on graduation day, prep school buildings looming behind him. No proud parents in the shot, just a solitary child already learning to wear success like armor. Alex picked up the frame, his finger tracing the edge. One evening, he muttered to himself, the words bitter on his tongue. He'd built an empire by never showing weakness, never giving in to emotional displays. Now they wanted him to play the part of the reformed bachelor for the cameras. The city hummed below, indifferent to his inner turmoil. His phone buzzed. Probably Vivian, ready to present their hand-picked candidates for his staged date. Alex left it unanswered, moving to pour himself 2 fingers of scotch. The amber liquid caught the light as he raised the glass. Tomorrow he'd deal with their demands and their schemes. Tomorrow he'd be Alexander Vale, the CEO who never showed weakness. But tonight, in the solitude of his penthouse, he allowed himself one moment of pure, unadulterated fury at being cornered. The ice clinked against his glass as he took another sip, the city's lights blurring before him. The photograph seemed to mock him from his desk. The boy who'd learned too early that emotions were a liability, that control was everything. Now, decades later, that same control was being stripped away, one board meeting at a time. His phone buzzed again. This time, he glanced at the screen, a message from his assistant about tomorrow's schedule. Reality intruding, as it always did. Alex set down his glass and straightened his shoulders, the mask sliding back into place with practiced ease. The weight of expectations from the board, from his mother, from the countless investors watching his every move, settled around him like a familiar coat. He'd play their game, attend their gala, smile for their cameras. But he'd do it his way, maintaining what control he could in a situation that felt increasingly out of his hands. Outside, the city continued its endless dance of light and shadow, unconcerned with the private battles being fought in penthouses and boardrooms. Inside, Alexander Vale stood alone, as he always had, facing another challenge to be managed, another problem to be solved, another mask to be worn. Maya Carter wiped sweat from her brow as she labeled another container of prepped vegetables. The kitchen of her small catering business hummed with morning activity, steam rising from pots while her sous chef Marcus muttered under his breath. "These heirloom tomatoes are half bruised," Marcus complained, holding up a specimen. "I told you that supplier was unreliable." "They're perfectly fine for the sauce," Maya replied, checking her phone. 3 unpaid invoices glared back at her. Just work around the soft spots. The morning sun filtered through the industrial windows of the rented kitchen space, catching dust motes in its beam. Maya had built Carter Culinary from scratch over the past 2 years, transforming her underground supper club into a legitimate business. Most days, she loved every minute of it. Today, with the pop-up dinner for 60 people looming, her nerves were frayed. Her phone buzzed again, her mother's familiar worried tone coming through the speaker. "Maya, honey, did you get my message about that accounting job opening?" "Mom, I'm not giving up the business." Maya wedged the phone between her ear and shoulder while checking inventory. "We're doing fine." "Fine doesn't pay student loans." Her mother sighed. "I just worry." "I know, Mom. I've got to go. Marcus is about to murder some tomatoes." After hanging up, Maya pulled up her banking app. The numbers stared back at her, stark and unforgiving. She'd need this weekend's pop-up to be perfect. The food critic from the City magazine could make or break them. "Maya," Marcus called out. "The fish supplier's on the phone. They're saying we need to pay last month's invoice before they'll deliver today's order." She closed her eyes, counting to 10. "Tell them I'll wire the money in an hour." The morning dissolved into a blur of prep work and phone calls. Maya was elbow-deep in marinade when her phone rang again. This time, it was Lisa Chen, a PR consultant she'd met through a catering job last month. "Maya, I've got an interesting opportunity for you." Lisa's voice crackled with excitement. "How would you feel about attending the Children's Hospital Gala next month? It's a high-profile charity event, lots of potential clients." Maya frowned. "Lisa, I can't afford a ticket to something like that." "You wouldn't need to buy a ticket. It's more of a paid arrangement. You'd be someone's +1 for the evening. They're offering $5,000. The knife Maya was holding clattered to the counter. "You mean like an escort?" "No, nothing like that. It's strictly professional. You attend, network, maybe dance once or twice. The client just needs a presentable date for PR purposes. Think of it as marketing for your business." Maya's mind raced. $5,000 would cover 2 months' rent and the outstanding invoices. Still, "I don't know, Lisa, it feels they're willing to put everything in writing. Professional contract, payment up front. You set your boundaries." Marcus chose that moment to drop a pan, the clash making Maya jump. "Can I think about it? They need an answer by tonight. I'll email you the contract to review." After hanging up, Maya stepped outside into the alley behind the kitchen. The city bustled around her, delivery trucks, shouting vendors, the eternal symphony of survival. She dialed her best friend, Rachel. "They want to pay you to go to a fancy party?" Rachel asked after Maya explained. "That's either the beginning of a Cinderella story or a true crime podcast." "It's weird, right? I mean, who pays someone to be their date?" "Rich people with image problems," Rachel said. "But hey, if it's legit and contracted, why not? You've been stressed about money for months." Maya leaned against the brick wall, watching a pigeon peck at discarded bread. "I just don't want to be some wealthy guy's prop." "So don't be. Be yourself. The badass chef who's building something from nothing. Network. Hand out business cards. Charm some potential clients. Take their money and make it work for you." Back inside, Maya spent the afternoon finishing prep, while the contract sat unopened in her inbox. Marcus left at 6, the prep finally done for tomorrow's event. She stayed behind, methodically cleaning stations and checking inventory. Finally, in the quiet kitchen, Maya opened the email. The contract was surprisingly straightforward. 1 evening of attendance at the Children's Hospital Gala, business attire required, no intimate contact expected. The payment would be deposited within 24 hours of signing. She thought about her mother's worried calls, the stack of unpaid invoices, the equipment upgrades her kitchen desperately needed. $5,000 wouldn't solve everything, but it would buy her time, the most precious commodity in her world. Maya read the contract 3 more times, noting the clear boundaries and professional tone. No red flags jumped out at her. Her finger hovered over the signature button on her tablet. Just 1 night. She muttered to herself, thinking of all the nights she'd worked for free, building her reputation dish by dish. She could handle 1 evening of playing dress-up if it meant keeping her dream alive. The signature page glowed on her screen. Maya took a deep breath, picked up her stylus, and signed. The contract disappeared into the ether of the internet, leaving her alone in the kitchen with the lingering scent of herbs and the weight of her decision. Her phone pinged with a confirmation email. She gathered her things, turned off the lights, and locked up. Outside, the city had shifted into its evening rhythm. Restaurants filling up, lights flickering on in office buildings, people rushing home or out to dinner. Maya joined the flow of pedestrians, her mind already racing with plans for tomorrow's pop-up. 1 strange gala wouldn't define her, she'd make sure of that. Her worth wasn't in how well she could play arm candy for some privileged executive. It was in the business she'd built with her own hands, the flavors she created, the community she served. Still, as she walked to the subway, She couldn't help wondering what kind of person needed to pay for a date to a charity event. She pushed the thought away. Tomorrow's service needed her full attention. Everything else could wait. The Hamilton Hotel's grand ballroom sparkled like a crystal cave. Chandeliers cast honeyed light over silk-draped tables, while photographers lined the red carpet outside, their cameras already flashing at arriving celebrities and tech moguls. Maya stood in the staging area, smoothing her borrowed midnight blue gown. A PR coordinator buzzed around her with last-minute instructions. Remember, natural smiles. Touch his arm occasionally. The press loves organic chemistry. I'm here to be presentable, not perform, Maya said, but her protest was lost in the chaos of event staff and security personnel. Through the glass doors, she watched Alex Vale emerge from a black SUV. Even from a distance, his presence commanded attention. The tailored tuxedo emphasized his height, and his expression remained carefully neutral as cameras tracked his every move. "That's your cue," the coordinator said, pushing Maya toward the entrance. "Remember, natural." The moment she stepped outside, lights exploded. Maya forced herself to breathe, channeling the same calm she used during kitchen disasters. Alex turned at her approach, and for a split second, his mask slipped. Something vulnerable flickered in his eyes before the polished smile returned. "Miss Carter," he said, extending his hand. His palm was surprisingly warm. "Mr. Vale." She matched his formal tone, noting how his fingers trembled slightly against hers. The PR team positioned them for photos. His hand at her waist, her body angled toward his. Maya felt the stiffness in his posture and instinctively shifted to make the pose look more natural. A photographer called for them to kiss. Alex flinched. It was subtle, but Maya felt it in the sudden tension of his arm around her. Without thinking, she turned her face away from the cameras and whispered, "Let's give them something else." She laughed as if he'd just told her something amusing, placing her hand on his chest. The cameras ate it up, and Alex's grip on her waist relaxed, fractionally. "Thank you," he murmured. Inside, the ballroom hummed with power and wealth. Tech billionaires mingled with old money, their combined net worth probably exceeding some countries' GDPs. Maya recognized faces from magazine covers and news segments. They moved through the crowd like a choreographed dance. Alex played his part perfectly, introducing her to investors, keeping his hand properly placed on her back, sharing occasional whispered comments that made her laugh genuinely. During dinner, Maya watched him give his speech about Vale Global's charitable initiatives. Most of it was standard corporate philanthropy. But then he paused, his voice softening. "We've been exploring some private projects," he said, "focusing on sustainable community development. Sometimes the smallest ventures yield the most meaningful returns." His eyes found Maya's across the room, and something unspoken passed between them. Later, they escaped to the balcony. The night air carried the scent of jasmine from the hotel's rooftop garden. Below, the city sprawled like a carpet of stars. "You're good at this," Maya said, breaking the silence. "The whole performance." Alex loosened his bow tie slightly. 20 years of practice, though I admit I usually avoid these circus acts. "Why'd you agree to this one?" He studied his champagne glass. "Obligation. The board thinks I need humanizing. Apparently being competent isn't enough anymore." "And you always do what the board wants?" "When necessary." His jaw tightened. "Sometimes maintaining control means appearing to surrender it." Maya leaned against the railing. "That sounds exhausting," says the woman who accepted money to be here. "Touché." She smiled without embarrassment. "But I'm honest about my reasons. I have a business to build, bills to pay. No pretense about it being anything else." Alex turned to face her, really looking at her for the first time. "That's refreshingly direct." I find integrity saves time. She met his gaze steadily, even if it costs more initially. Something shifted in his expression. Recognition, maybe, or longing. Before he could respond, the PR coordinator found them. One more photo for the society pages? They posed against the backdrop of city lights. Maya felt Alex's heart racing under her palm as she leaned into him. The camera flashed, capturing what would look like an intimate moment between lovers. Minutes later, Maya slipped into a cab, while handlers distracted the remaining photographers. Through the window she saw Alex standing alone on the hotel steps, his perfect posture finally showing signs of wear. Their eyes met briefly before the cab pulled away. In her apartment, Maya kicked off her heels and hung up the borrowed gown. Her phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. "How was your Cinderella night?" Maya stared at the screen, thinking of Alex's hidden vulnerabilities, the weight of expectations he carried, the moment on the balcony when pretense had briefly fallen away. "Complicated," she typed back. Across town, Alex stood at his penthouse window, bow tie undone, still holding the champagne glass from the gala. The city lights blurred together as he remembered Maya's straight talk on the balcony, her instinctive protection during the photo op, the way she'd seen through his performance without judgment. He set down the untouched champagne and loosened his collar, feeling the unfamiliar sensation of being truly seen, and finding himself unexpectedly rattled by it. The night had gone exactly as planned. The photos would satisfy the board. The press would run their stories. Everything was under control. So why couldn't he shake the memory of her hand on his chest, steadying him when he faltered? Alex's phone buzzed before dawn. The screen filled with notifications, messages from board members, investor inquiries, and news alerts. He swiped through headlines while his coffee brewed. Vale's Ice Prince melts, candid moments at charity gala. Who is Alex Vale's mystery woman? Power couple alert, tech titan shows softer side. The photo dominating every article showed him and Maya on the balcony. The lighting had caught them perfectly, her genuine laugh, his rare, unguarded smile. Even Alex had to admit they looked authentic. His mother's text arrived at 6 a.m. "Well done, darling. The Thompson Group is impressed. Call me." Vivian's office overlooked the city, all chrome and strategic feng shui. She gestured to the social media metrics on her tablet. "The response exceeds expectations. You've humanized beautifully." "It was one night," Alex said flatly, "which generated more positive press than our last 3 PR campaigns combined." She paused. "The board wants to capitalize on this momentum." "No. Alexander, I won't parade around with hired dates. Then hire her properly. Event services, social PR. She has the skills we need for the charity launch." Alex's jaw tightened. He'd already considered this option, but hearing it from his mother made him bristle. She may not agree. She will. The exposure alone. Don't underestimate her mother. She has integrity. Vivian's eyebrow lifted at his tone. Then offer terms that respect that integrity. Across town, Maya's morning was equally chaotic. Her phone exploded with interview requests and social media followers. The PR consultant who'd arranged the gala date called 5 times. "This is gold," he gushed. "We could book you on morning shows." "No," Maya cut in. "I'm not selling a dating story. My business, that's all I'll discuss." She ended the call and checked her emails. Among them was a formal inquiry from Vale Global regarding event services for their upcoming charity initiative. The contract meeting was set for 2 p.m. Maya arrived early, armed with notes and boundaries. The Vale Global lobby gleamed with wealth and authority, but she refused to be intimidated. Alex met her personally, leading her to a conference room where lawyers waited. If he noticed her professional armor, crisp blazer, portfolio, steady gaze, he didn't comment. The terms, Maya began, need to be explicit. She laid out her requirements, a 6-week contract covering event planning, vendor management, and social PR for Vale Global's charity launch. The confidentiality clause would protect both parties. Her role would be clearly defined as a professional consultant, not a personal companion. "I won't be a prop," she stated firmly. "If that's what you're looking for, find someone else." Alex studied her, respect flickering in his eyes. "What we're looking for is your expertise. The charity launch needs someone who understands community impact and authentic engagement." The lawyers presented the contract. Maya read every line, negotiating adjustments to protect her independence and business identity. The final document included duration, 6-week scope, event planning, vendor coordination, PR advisory compensation, triple her usual rate, plus performance bonuses, confidentiality, mutual protection of personal and business information, professional boundaries, clear definition of business relationship media, guidelines, mayor's right to approve any personal coverage. "One more thing," Maya added. "I maintain full control of my business branding. No Vale Global ownership or exclusive contracts." Alex nodded. "Agreed, though we'd appreciate first consideration for future events." The lawyers finalized the changes. Maya signed first, her signature bold and clear. Alex followed, his pen hovering briefly before completing the document. Standing to leave, Maya felt the weight of the commitment. 6 weeks of navigating Vale Global's world while protecting her identity and integrity. "Miss Carter," Alex called as she reached the door. "Thank you for your directness. It's refreshing." She offered a professional smile. "See you tomorrow, Mr. Vale." The glass lobby reflected her exit. Maya walked steadily, portfolio tucked under her arm, already planning tomorrow's vendor meetings. She looked capable, confident, exactly what she needed them to see. Alex watched from the upper lobby, hands in his pockets. The contract gave him 6 weeks to... What? Understand why she affected him? Control the narrative? Protect her from the media circus he'd drawn her into? The answer probably lay somewhere between duty and desire, but he pushed the thought aside. They had a charity launch to plan. Everything else was just business. His phone buzzed, another board message praising the positive press. The plan had worked perfectly. So why did victory feel like the beginning of something far more complicated? Vivian appeared beside him, watching Maya disappear into a taxi. "She'll be good for the company's image." "She's more than an image, Mother." "I know." Vivian smiled knowingly. "That's what worries me." Alex turned away from the window, straightening his tie. He had meetings to attend, a company, to run. The contract was signed, the terms set. Everything was under control, but Maya's words echoed in his mind. "I won't be a prop." For the first time in years, Alex wondered if control was what he really wanted. Over the next 2 weeks, Maya's life became an intricate dance of corporate logistics and unexpected moments. Day 1, she arrived at Vale Global at precisely 8 a.m., clutching her planning portfolio and a coffee that had long since gone cold. The security guard issued her a temporary pass, and she rode the elevator to the 42nd floor, where Alex waited in the conference room. "First order of business," he said, sliding a tablet across the glossy table. "Vendor proposals." Maya scanned the list. "These are all major corporations. What about local suppliers?" "They're efficient, reliable, and completely disconnected from the communities we're trying to help." She pulled up alternative proposals on her laptop. "Look at these small businesses. They're minority-owned, sustainable, and untested." Alex countered. "Sometimes the best investments aren't the safest ones." Their eyes met across the table. Something shifted in his expression. Day 3. Rain pelted the windows as they shared a taxi to the venue. Alex's shoulder pressed against hers with each turn, his cologne subtle but present. "The florist cancelled," Maya said, checking her phone. "But I know someone better. She grows everything locally. We need guarantees. We need authenticity. This isn't just about numbers, Mr. Vale." His jaw tightened. "Alex, please." Day 5. Late-night menu tasting. The kitchen staff had gone home, leaving them alone with sample plates and spreadsheets. "Try this," Maya offered, sliding a plate toward him. "It's from that family restaurant I mentioned." Alex took a careful bite. His eyes widened slightly. "Better than the corporate caterer?" He nodded, almost reluctantly. "How did you find them?" "I believe in looking beyond the surface." She met his gaze. Most people do have hidden depths. Day 8. They worked late again, surrounded by venue blueprints and timeline drafts. Alex loosened his tie, a rare show of informality. "Why do you always keep such careful distance?" Maya asked suddenly. He stilled. "Experience taught me that. Closeness complicates things." "You mean physical closeness?" "Among other things." He studied his hands. "I've always been careful." The admission hung between them, heavy with unspoken meaning. "I understand careful," Maya said softly. "Last year I trusted a client who seemed perfect on paper. They took my designs, cancelled the contract, and launched without me. Sometimes being careful isn't enough." Alex looked at her then, really looked at her. "Is that why you insisted on such detailed contracts?" "Partly, but mostly because I believe in being clear about boundaries." Day 10. Morning briefing turned into lunch at his private office. Maya noticed he'd ordered from one of her recommended local restaurants. "The board approves of your vendor choices," he said, almost grudgingly. "Because they're good choices. Different doesn't mean risky." "You're changing how we do things. Is that bad?" His smile was quick but genuine. Surprisingly not. Day 12. They worked through final venue details. Maya's heels echoed in the empty building as they walked the space, measuring distances, marking positions. "The stage should be here," she indicated. "More intimate, less corporate." "Like everything you suggest." There was warmth in his voice. "Is that a complaint?" "An observation." Day 13. Crisis struck when the lighting vendor backed out. They spent hours calling alternatives, sitting closer than necessary in the dimmed conference room. "We'll figure it out," Maya assured him, touching his arm without thinking. He didn't pull away. "You always seem so certain. One of us has to be." Day 14. The rain returned with vengeance. They'd stayed late again, finalizing details for tomorrow's vendor meetings. "We should call it a night," Alex said, watching Maya stifle a yawn. "One more call to the new lighting team. They're 3 hours behind us." They walked to the lobby, but the rain had turned torrential. Thunder cracked overhead. "We can wait it out," Alex suggested, leading her to a covered shop entrance nearby. They stood close, watching the rain create rivers on the pavement. A car splashed past, its headlights catching the droplets like diamonds. "Thank you," Alex said suddenly. "For what?" "Making me see things differently. The local vendors, the community angle. You were right." Did that hurt to admit? His laugh was low, genuine. "Less than I expected." A gust of wind drove the rain sideways. Maya shivered. Without thinking, Alex reached for her hand. Time stretched between them, measured in heartbeats and falling rain. Maya looked at their joined hands, then slowly, deliberately, tightened her fingers around his. They stood there, connected by that simple touch, while the city rushed by in sheets of silver rain. Neither spoke, neither needed to. Some changes happen in grand moments, others happen in quiet ones, under shop awnings on rainy nights, when careful people choose to be brave. The Monday morning sun hadn't yet touched Vale Global's glass tower when Alex's phone exploded with alerts. Stock prices plummeting. Emergency board meeting called. Anonymous whistleblower documents. The transfers appear irregular, a board member said, sliding papers across the polished table. Subsidiary accounts showing unexplained movements, multiple signatures that don't match our records. Alex's hands tightened on his armrests. The documents looked authentic. Company letterhead, transaction codes, even the right department stamps. But something was off. "These are fabricated," he said, voice cutting through the murmurs. "Daniel, get legal on this. Full audit now." Daniel nodded, already dialing. But the damage was spreading. News outlets picked up the story. Shareholders demanded explanations. Alex watched the screens in his office as financial channels dissected Vale Global's every move. Maya found him there hours later, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up, surrounded by financial reports. "I have a draft statement," she said, setting coffee beside him. "Professional but personal. Shows we're taking this seriously while maintaining confidence." He glanced at her document. The language was perfect. Transparent without being defensive, strong without aggression. "You're good at this," he admitted. "I know how to talk to people, not just shareholders." She perched on his desk edge. "Let me help." Over the next days, they fell into a rhythm. Days spent managing the crisis, nights working late in his office. Maya brought in food from local places, insisting he needed to eat. They talked strategy over noodles and dumplings, papers spread between them. Thursday night, she caught him staring at old company photos. "Your father?" she asked, noting the resemblance. "Built this company from nothing." Alex's voice was tight. "Now someone's trying to destroy it. We won't let them." She touched his shoulder. The contact felt electric. He turned, their faces suddenly close. "Why do you care?" "Because I see you," she said simply. "Not just the CEO everyone expects." The kiss happened naturally, inevitably. His hands trembled slightly as they cupped her face. She felt his inexperience in the hesitation, the careful way he explored her mouth. When they broke apart, his eyes were vulnerable. "Maya, I should tell you, I haven't been intimate before." She stroked his cheek. "It's okay. My whole life has been this company. Relationships were..." He searched for words. "Risky. Complicated. Do you want this?" she asked softly. "We don't have to." His answer was another kiss, deeper this time. Papers scattered as she pulled him closer. He lifted her onto the desk, hands uncertain but eager to learn her body. "Tell me what you want," she whispered against his mouth. "You, just you." They made it to the private suite attached to his office, shedding clothes between kisses. Maya took the lead gently, showing him how to touch her, what made her gasp. His quick mind made him an attentive student. When he finally entered her, the look of wonder on his face made her heart ache. She held him close, whispering encouragement as he moved. His inexperience showed in his rhythm, but his dedication to her pleasure made up for it. After, they lay tangled in sheets, his head on her chest while she stroked his hair. "Okay?" she asked. He raised his head, eyes soft in a way she'd never seen. "More than okay." They dozed off together, work forgotten for once. Morning found them still entwined, sun painting golden stripes across the bed. Alex traced patterns on her skin. "I don't regret this. But the world's still out there. Someone's attacking my company. The board's watching every move." Maya propped herself up on an elbow. "We'll handle it. Together." He kissed her forehead, lingering. I want to believe that. Then believe it. She touched the worry lines between his brows. You don't have to carry everything alone anymore. Their phones buzzed simultaneously, reality intruding. More press inquiries, board messages, the investigation updates. They dressed slowly, stealing touches and kisses. Each piece of clothing felt like armor going back on, preparing for the battle ahead. Ready? Maya asked as Alex straightened his tie. He caught her hand, pressed a kiss to her palm. With you? Yes. They stepped out of the suite into the morning light, transformed but uncertain. The crisis still loomed, but something had shifted between them, as fundamental as tectonic plates moving beneath the Earth's surface. The company phones kept ringing. Emails flooded in. But for a moment, they just stood there, fingers linked, facing whatever came next together. Monday morning's headlines hit like poison darts. The Daily Star's front page screamed, Vail's secret lover, the truth behind the CEO's charity date. Below it, photos of Maya entering Vail Global's building late at night, leaving early morning. The implications were clear and cruel. Alex's phone buzzed non-stop with messages from the board. Maya's social media exploded with accusations. Neither had seen it coming. It's garbage, Maya said, pacing his office. They're twisting everything. Alex stood at the window, jaw clenched. They're calling you a... He couldn't finish the sentence. I know what they're calling me. Her voice was steady despite the hurt in her eyes. Let them. We know the truth. But by Tuesday afternoon, truth seemed irrelevant. At the Global Finance Summit, Evelyn Hale took the podium with practiced concern on her face. In times of market volatility, she said, voice carrying to every corner, leadership must be focused, undistracted. Recent events at Vail Global raise questions about priorities and judgment. The markets responded immediately. Vail's stock dropped another 3 points. That evening, an anonymous email appeared in several journalists' inboxes. The attachment, what appeared to be correspondence between Alex and the subsidiary's management, discussing fund transfers. It was masterfully forged, but fake. This is coordinated, Daniel said, spreading printouts across the conference table. Someone's using the relationship scandal to make the financial allegations stick. Alex's mother called an emergency board meeting. Maya waited outside while they deliberated, hearing raised voices through the thick doors. When Alex emerged 2 hours later, his face was ash white. They're bringing in external auditors, he said. Full investigation. We'll fight this, Maya insisted. I can help with the PR strategy. No. His voice was sharp. I need to handle this alone. They're using you to get to me. Alex, I won't let them destroy you too. He turned away, shoulders rigid. This is my company, my responsibility. Wednesday brought new attacks. A sleazy producer from Celebrity Inside Track cornered Maya outside her apartment. We'll pay 6 figures for your story, he said, all oily charm. The real dirt on Alex Vail. What really happened that first night? Maya's disgust was visceral. There is no story, and if there was, it wouldn't be for sale. She made her rejection public, posting a clear statement. I don't sell truth or trust. Some things aren't for sale. The support was immediate. Team Maya trended briefly, but the damage was spreading through Vail Global like cancer. Alex retreated to the war room, surrounded by lawyers and crisis managers. Maya tried reaching him, but his responses grew shorter, more distant. I need space to fix this, he texted late Wednesday night. Maya sat in her small apartment, one hand pressed to her stomach where morning sickness had started making itself known. She hadn't told him yet, couldn't tell him now, not with everything imploding. Her phone buzzed with another tabloid alert. Vail Global Board considers leadership change? She thought of Alex alone in that sterile war room, trying to hold his world together. Thought of the secret growing inside her that could shatter it completely. Outside her window, press photographers lurked in cars, waiting for a story. Inside, she fought waves of nausea and worry, both of them trapped in different kinds of isolation, while unseen enemies circled like sharks. In the Vale Global building downtown, Alex stared at financial projections until they blurred. His tablet constantly updated with new headlines, each worse than the last. The stock price blinked red. He'd stripped off his tie hours ago, rolled up his sleeves. Coffee cups littered the table. His mother's words from the board meeting echoed. "Fix this, Alexander. Whatever it takes." Whatever it takes. The phrase had always been his father's favorite. The night stretched endless. Lawyers drafted statements. PR teams built strategies. Security traced leak sources. And Alex sat at the center of it all, feeling everything he'd built starting to crack. His phone showed a missed call from Maya. He stared at her name, finger hovering over the callback button. Then another email alert dinged. More allegations, more questions, more threats to the company his father had built. He set the phone down without calling back. The war room hummed with activity around him, but he'd never felt more alone. Outside his window, the city sparkled indifferently. Somewhere out there, Maya was waiting. But in here, surrounded by the machinery of corporate crisis, Alex did what he'd been trained to do since childhood. He buried his heart and focused on survival. The clock ticked past midnight. Papers shuffled, phones rang. And in two different parts of the city, two people who'd found something real now faced the possibility of losing it all. 3 days, 72 hours since that moment of connection in his office. It felt like years ago now, like a dream dissolving in harsh morning light. The night wasn't over. The crisis wasn't contained. And dawn would bring new battles, new choices, new wounds. But for now, they were separated by more than just distance, separated by the walls they'd both built to survive. Daniel's fingers flew across his keyboard, his usual calm demeanor replaced by intense focus. "Look at this," he called to the security team. "Access logs from the subsidiary servers show irregular patterns." He pulled up a visualization that tracked login attempts. "See these spikes? Someone's been probing our network using masked IPs." The timing aligned perfectly with the leaked documents. Not a random attack. This was surgical precision. "It's internal," Daniel concluded, rubbing his tired eyes. "Someone with peripheral access, but not core credentials." Across town, Alex sat in his mother's private office. The city skyline a steel-grey backdrop to her carefully chosen words. "The board needs a gesture," Vivian said, perfectly manicured nails tapping her desk. "Sacrifice the European logistics division. It's underperforming anyway. 300 jobs." Alex counted. "Families who depend on us. Better than losing everything." Her smile was brittle. "Sometimes we must cut to heal." Alex recognized the look, the same one she'd worn when explaining why his father missed another birthday. Always for the greater good, always for Vale Global. In the PR crisis room, Maya reviewed messaging strategies with the communications team. An intern's phone buzzed. She glimpsed a text. "Delete the files before IT runs their sweep." The intern paled, quickly pocketing the phone. Maya made a mental note. Later that evening, she found Daniel still at his desk. "Something's wrong," she said. "The intern team's acting strange, and I've noticed board member Harrison's external counsel lurking around restricted floors." Daniel pulled up more logs. "Look at these timestamps. The leak occurred exactly when Harrison's firm had server access for their quarterly review." "We need to tell Alex," Maya said. But when they brought their concerns to him, Vivian was already there, along with 2 board members. "Stick to the approved narrative," Vivian instructed. "The audit will handle any irregularities." Alex's face was a mask. "Follow the script," he echoed, not meeting Maya's eyes. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. Her morning sickness had subsided enough to let her focus on the growing mystery. She pulled up vendor records, scanning for patterns. At 2 a.m. she found it, a small payment to a shell company, routed through the same subsidiary under investigation. The amount was insignificant, but the timing. She cross-referenced it with Daniel's logs. The payment cleared exactly 1 day before the first leak. Her phone lit up with a text from Daniel. "Found something. Harrison's firm hired a cybersecurity consultant last month. Off the books." Maya stared at her screen, pieces clicking into place. The intern's text, Harrison's counsel, the shell company payment. Someone was orchestrating Vale Global's destruction from the inside. The next morning brought more pressure. Vivian called another emergency meeting, this time with major shareholders on video conference. "The European division restructuring will proceed," she announced, shooting Alex a warning look when he shifted in his chair. Maya watched from the back of the room as Alex's shoulders tensed. He was losing control, piece by piece. During a break, she tried approaching him. "Alex, we have evidence." "Not now." He cut her off, voice low. "Mother's handling the strategy." "But I said not now!" He walked away, leaving her standing alone in the corridor. Daniel caught her arm. "We need to move faster. Harrison's counsel just requested another server audit." They spent the afternoon digging deeper. Maya's nausea returned, but she pushed through it, focusing on financial trails while Daniel tracked digital footprints. The pattern became clearer. Small payments, masked access, strategic leaks, all leading back to Harrison's firm. But why? On day 5, Maya found herself back in her small office, surrounded by printouts and trying not to throw up. The morning sickness was getting harder to hide. She pulled up another batch of invoices, eyes burning from hours of screening. Then she saw it, a vendor payment that didn't match any known contract. The company name seemed familiar. She cross-referenced it against Vale Global's competitor database. Her breath caught. The shell company traced back to a holding group owned by Evelyn Hale, the same CEO who'd publicly questioned Alex's leadership. Maya's hands shook as she documented the connection. This wasn't just corporate sabotage. It was a hostile takeover attempt, using Alex's personal life as cover. She reached for her phone to call Daniel, but stopped. Through her office window, she could see Alex in the main conference room, surrounded by board members and lawyers. His mother stood at his shoulder, directing the conversation. The distance between them felt infinite now. He was trapped in a cage of obligation and family loyalty, while she sat alone with evidence that could either save or destroy everything. Her computer pinged, another message from Daniel. "Harrison just called an emergency board vote for tomorrow. Something big is coming." Maya looked back at the invoice on her screen. One small payment leading to a trail of betrayal that went deeper than anyone suspected. The truth was there in the numbers. But with Alex walled off by his mother's influence and the board closing ranks, who would listen? She pressed a hand to her stomach, morning sickness rising again. 2 secrets now, one that could save Vale Global and one that could change everything. Outside her window, the sun set on day 5 of the crisis. In the conference room, Alex was still trapped in his gilded cage, while somewhere in the building, traitors moved their pieces into position. Maya saved her findings and encrypted the files. Tomorrow would bring hard choices, but tonight she had work to do. The truth was hidden in the numbers, and she wouldn't stop until she uncovered it all. 3 months after the gala, and 2 months after their first night together, Maya sat on the edge of her bathtub, staring at two pink lines that changed everything. "Oh, God," she whispered, hands shaking. The morning light filtered through her tiny bathroom window, making the test results unmistakably clear. She checked her phone. 6:47 a.m. The world was still quiet, but her mind raced. Calculations tumbled through her thoughts: insurance, rent, the remaining months on her Vale contract. Her hand drifted to her stomach, finding no physical evidence yet of the life growing inside. Maya stood, catching her reflection in the mirror. Same face, same determined brown eyes, but everything felt different. She thought of Alex in his pristine office, probably already reviewing market reports. The distance between their worlds had never felt greater. She called her doctor's office the moment they opened, scheduling an appointment for Wednesday. 3 days to process before confirmation. 3 days of carrying this secret alone. The week unfolded in slow motion. Monday's meeting at Vale felt surreal. Alex discussing Q4 projections while Maya pretended her world hadn't shifted. She caught herself watching him, searching for clues about how he might react. Would his controlled exterior crack? Would this be the thing that finally made the untouchable Alex Vale lose his composure? Tuesday brought morning sickness. She blamed coffee when her assistant noticed her pale face. In quiet moments, Maya researched prenatal care costs, childcare options, maternity leave policies. Each search opened new questions. How would this affect her business? Could she maintain independence while co-parenting with a billionaire? Wednesday's doctor's appointment confirmed everything. Approximately 8 weeks, the doctor said, showing her the ultrasound screen. Maya stared at the tiny flutter of life, barely visible, but undeniably real. That evening, she sat at her kitchen table and began writing. "Dear Alex, I'm starting this letter for the 10th time because there's no perfect way to say this. I'm pregnant. 8 weeks. I've always been direct with you, so I'll continue that now. I'm scared. Not of being a mother, but of what this means for us, for your company, for the life I've built. I know you value control. This will change everything. But before you start planning and managing, because I know you will, I need you to understand something. I won't be bought. I won't be managed. If we do this, we do it as equals." She wrote until midnight, pouring out fears and hopes, then saved the letter without sending it. Some things needed to be said face to face. Thursday and Friday blurred together. Maya maintained her professional facade while planning how to tell Alex. She booked time on his calendar for Friday evening. Important personal discussion. She noticed small changes in herself. Protective hands over her stomach during crowded elevator rides, declining wine at lunch meetings, calculating dates in her head. The baby would arrive in winter, Alex's busiest season. Her mother called Thursday night, sensing something was wrong. Maya almost told her but held back. Alex deserved to know first. Friday morning, she rehearsed the conversation in her head. Direct but gentle, firm about her independence while acknowledging his right to be involved. She'd tell him that evening, after the office cleared out. But at 2 p.m., her phone exploded with notifications. A gossip site had published photos. Alex leaving a hotel with a striking blonde. The headline screamed scandal, though Maya recognized the context. It was Harrison's daughter from last week's investor meeting. But the damage was calculated, the timing precise. Her phone buzzed with a text from Daniel. "War room, now. Board's calling emergency session." Maya stood in her office, one hand on her stomach, watching staff rush past her door. The timing couldn't be worse. She'd planned to tell Alex tonight, but now he'd be locked in crisis management, fighting yet another manufactured scandal. She opened her calendar to reschedule their talk, her cursor hovering over next week's dates. But something felt wrong about the latest attack's timing. It was too perfect, too designed to hit when Vale Global was most vulnerable. The pregnancy test from Monday morning felt like ages ago. In just 5 days, she'd cycled through every emotion possible: fear, joy, determination, doubt. Now she added a new one: protective fury. Someone was trying to destroy what Alex had built, using his personal life as ammunition. Maya gathered her notes on the latest leak, tucking them into her folder. The baby news would have to wait. Right now, Alex needed his head clear to fight this latest threat. She had proof of the coordinated attacks, and her discovery about Harrison's firm could help. She touched her stomach once more, a private acknowledgement. Just a little longer, she whispered to their secret. Then she straightened her shoulders and headed for the war room, where Alex would be marshalling his defenses. The headlines followed her down the hallway on every screen, but Maya's mind was already working on counter-strategies. She was carrying more than one vital secret now, a baby that could change everything, and evidence that might save Vale Global from its enemies. Friday afternoon, light slanted through the windows as she walked, casting long shadows. In less than a week, her world had transformed completely. But for now, she had to focus on the immediate crisis. The rest, their future, their child, their truth, would have to wait until the current storm passed. Maya's fingers traced the edge of the medical documents as she waited in the small, private dining room on Vale Global's executive floor. The space felt too intimate now. Warm wood panels, a single table meant for confidential lunches, city lights twinkling beyond floor-to-ceiling windows. She'd texted Alex an hour ago. Need to meet. Private. Important. His reply came instantly. Use the executive dining room. 8 p.m. The medical papers felt heavy in her hands. Ultrasound images, blood work confirmation, due date estimates carefully printed on hospital letterhead. She'd organized everything into a pristine folder, her need for order surfacing in crisis. At exactly 8, Alex entered. His suit was wrinkled from a day of emergency meetings, his tie loosened, but his eyes were sharp, assessing her unusual location choice and rigid posture. Maya. He moved to touch her, then stopped, reading her expression. What's wrong? She didn't stand. Sit down, Alex. He did slowly. The city lights cast shadows across his face as she opened the folder. I found out on Monday, she began, her voice steady despite her racing heart. I confirmed it with my doctor on Wednesday. She slid the papers across the table. I'm pregnant. 8 weeks. Alex went perfectly still. His hands, reaching for the documents, froze mid-motion. For several heartbeats, the only sound was distant traffic below. Then he moved, picking up the ultrasound image with trembling fingers. 8 weeks. He repeated softly. His other hand clenched the table's edge. The night we... Yes. Joy transformed his face for an instant, raw, unguarded happiness that made him look younger. But then his executive mask slipped back into place, and Maya watched his mind begin calculating risks. We need to get ahead of this, he said, already reaching for his phone. I'll call PR. We'll draft a statement tonight, something dignified but clear. Position us as partners from the start, before anyone can spin it. No. Maya's voice cut through his planning. I won't be part of another press release. Alex looked up, confused. Maya, we have to control this narrative. The moment this leaks... This isn't about Vale Global's image, she interrupted. This is about our child, my body, my life. I won't have my pregnancy announced like a merger deal. I'm trying to protect you, Alex insisted. Both of you. If we don't frame this properly, frame this. Maya's laugh was bitter. That's exactly what I mean. Everything isn't a corporate strategy, Alex. I need time to process this, to decide how I want to handle it. His jaw tightened. We don't have that luxury. Not with today's headlines. If we announce this properly, we control the story. Show we're united, committed. I haven't even decided what I want yet. Maya stood, pacing. I haven't told my mother, my friends. I'm still trying to understand what this means for my business, my independence, and you're already drafting. Press releases? Because I have to. Alex's voice rose. Every decision I make affects thousands of people, stock prices, jobs. If this leaks wrong, if. Maya whirled to face him. That's all you think about. Every real moment between us gets sanitized for public consumption. I won't let you turn our child into a PR strategy. Alex stood too, his height imposing in the small room. You don't understand the stakes. My enemies will use this to destroy everything I've built. They'll paint you as a gold digger, the baby as a trap. Then let them. Maya's hands protected her stomach instinctively. I don't care what they say. I care about doing this our way, privately, like normal people. We're not normal people anymore. Alex's voice went quiet, dangerous. The moment you became pregnant with a Vale heir, everything changed. I have to protect an heir. Maya stepped back like he'd struck her. Is that what this is? Securing your legacy? That's not what I meant. I think it's exactly what you meant. She gathered her coat with shaking hands. I'm not your property, Alex. This baby isn't a corporate asset, and I won't let you manage us like one. Maya, please. He reached for her, but she evaded his touch. I'm trying to help. No, you're trying to control. There's a difference. She moved toward the door. I need time, space to think. Don't issue any statements. Don't try to handle this. Just let me process it first. How much time? His voice was strained. I don't know. She paused at the threshold. But if you release anything about this pregnancy without my consent, we're done. I mean it, Alex. Done. The door closed behind her with a soft click. Through the glass, she saw him sink into a chair, head in his hands. Her own hands trembled as she called the elevator. In her apartment that night, Maya curled around her still flat stomach, tears finally falling. She'd imagined this moment differently. Joy shared, plans made together, private celebration before facing the world. Across town in his penthouse, Alex stood at his window, the ultrasound photo crushed in his fist. Every instinct screamed to act, to control, to protect through the only methods he knew. But Maya's words echoed, I won't let you manage us like one. Both lay awake until dawn, separated by miles and fears, each holding their own version of what protection meant. 3 days after Maya's pregnancy revelation, the crisis exploded. The Bloomberg alert hit at 9:47 a.m. Breaking. Documents show Vale CEO approved controversial transfers. Alex's phone buzzed with the notification while he was reviewing contingency plans with legal. The evidence, forged transfer approvals bearing his electronic signature, looked real enough to convince anyone who wanted to believe. It's a fabrication, he told the emergency board call, voice steady despite his racing pulse. But the market won't wait for proof. Vale Global's stock had already dropped 6 points. On top of the staged photos suggesting infidelity that had emerged yesterday, the narrative was becoming toxic. Alex could feel control slipping away with each passing hour. In her temporary office down the hall, Maya watched the story unfold on multiple screens. Her hand drifted to her stomach, still flat, but carrying their secret. She hadn't spoken to Alex since their fight, but she saw him stride past her door 4 times that morning, each time looking more haunted. At noon, the board convened an emergency session. Maya wasn't invited, but she could see the tension through the glass walls. Alex at the head of the table, Vivienne to his right, faces grim as they reviewed options. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. Honey, are you okay? Seeing all this news about Vale. Maya couldn't bring herself to respond. How could she explain that she was carrying the baby of a man whose life was imploding in real time on CNBC? Inside the boardroom, Alex made his decision. "We negotiate with Harrison," he said, naming the most vocal, critical shareholder. "Offer a settlement with strict confidentiality terms. Buy us time to trace the leak." "And your personal situation?" a board member asked delicately. "My private life will be included in the confidentiality agreement." Alex's voice was flat. "No public discussion of any aspect of my personal relationships or decisions." Vivian nodded approval, but Maya, who had stepped closer to refill her water, felt her blood run cold. He was trying to legally silence any discussion of their relationship, of their child. She waited until the board dispersed before confronting him in his office. "You're going to gag me." Her voice shook. "Make it illegal for me to talk about my own pregnancy." "Maya." Alex looked exhausted. "The agreement is about protecting the company, stopping the bleeding while we find who's behind this. It's about control." She countered. "You're trying to manage me like another PR problem." "I'm trying to save everything I've built." His composure cracked. "These people want to destroy me. They'll use you, use our child." "So you'll silence me first." Maya's hand pressed against her belly. "I won't sign anything that prevents me from speaking about my own life, Alex. My pregnancy isn't your corporate secret." His phone rang, legal with the draft agreement. Alex answered, turning away. "Send it now. We need to move fast." Maya watched him transform back into the CEO, discussing terms and clauses as if they were talking about shipping contracts instead of her future. Their future. She left his office without another word. That evening she called him from her car. "I'm staying at Rachel's for a few days," she said when he answered. "I need space to think." "Maya, please." His voice cracked. "Let me explain." "You already have. The company comes first, always has." She swallowed hard. "But I won't let our child grow up thinking they're just another asset to be managed. That's not—" "Sign whatever agreements you need to." She cut him off. "But I won't be part of them. This baby and I aren't your property to control." She ended the call before he could respond, hands shaking as she drove to her friend's apartment. Rachel helped her carry in a small suitcase, asked no questions when Maya curled up on the guest bed and finally let herself cry. Across town, Alex stood in his darkened office until midnight, watching the city lights blur below. The settlement agreement sat unsigned on his desk, pages of legal language that might save his company, but cost him everything that mattered. His phone showed a text from Vivian. "You did what was necessary. The board is satisfied." But Maya's words echoed. "This baby and I aren't your property to control." He pressed his forehead against the cool glass, remembering the moment she'd told him about the pregnancy. For one perfect instant, before his CEO instincts kicked in, he'd felt pure joy. Now that joy was tangled in legal terms and damage control. The night deepened. In Rachel's guest room, Maya lay awake, one hand on her stomach, wondering if she'd been naive to think love could matter more than empire. In his office, Alex stood vigil, trapped between the weight of his name and the future he might have just lost. 3 days had shattered what months had built. The distance between them, emotional and physical, felt vast as the city lights below, each alone with their fears in the gathering dark. Daniel's office had become their war room. Papers and laptops covered every surface as Maya cross-referenced server logs while he traced IP addresses. 5 days of investigation had left coffee cups scattered like breadcrumbs, marking their progress. There. Maya pointed to a screen. The subcontractor's timestamp matches the doctored email. Someone accessed their system at 2 a.m. that morning. Daniel leaned over, squinting. The IP address is masked, but... He pulled up another window. Look at the routing pattern. It bounces through servers in Singapore and London before landing at Blackwood and Associates. Maya's voice hardened. Evelyn Hale's primary counsel. Got you. Daniel muttered, already typing. The question is, who gave them access to internal Vale documents in the first place? Maya rubbed her temples, fighting morning sickness and exhaustion. Living at Rachel's meant long commutes, stolen moments examining files between PR meetings. The distance from Alex hurt, but she couldn't think about that now. We need to check who had clearance to those subsidiary files, she said. Already on it. Daniel pulled up an access log. Only board members and senior legal... He stopped, frowning at his screen. What? There's a gap in the archive. Files from 3 years ago, specifically about property acquisitions in Southeast Asia, are sealed under special protocols. Maya leaned closer. Can you access them? Not directly, but... Daniel's phone buzzed. Hold on. Alex's counsel just sent something interesting. He opened an encrypted email, scanning quickly. They were doing routine archive checks, looking for precedent on handling leaked documents. Found something odd in Vivian's old files. Maya read over his shoulder as he opened the attachment. Property deeds, shell companies, a series of transfers that led to Vale acquiring prime real estate in Malaysia at suspiciously low prices. The timing, Daniel said quietly. These deals happened right when the government changed hands, right when certain officials were accused of taking bribes to fast-track development. Maya felt cold. Are you saying Vivian? Nothing explicit. But these shell companies, the routing of funds, it's the kind of thing that wouldn't hold up well under public scrutiny. Maya thought of Vivian's perfectly controlled image, her obsession with protecting the Vale name. Does Alex know? He does now. They turned to find Alex in the doorway, looking pale and furious. Files were clutched in his hand. I'm going to speak with my mother, he said tightly. Keep digging into the Blackwood connection. And Maya... His voice softened slightly. Thank you. For helping, even after... She nodded, unable to trust her voice. He left quickly, the glass door swinging shut behind him. Hours later, Alex stood in his mother's study, watching sunset paint the antique furniture in shades of blood and gold. Vivian sat perfectly poised behind her desk, examining the files he'd thrown down. Explain, he said. There's nothing to explain. Vivian's voice was smooth as aged whiskey. We acquired properties through legal channels, through shell companies and suspicious timing. Alex's hands gripped the back of a chair. While officials were being investigated for corruption. We did what was necessary. She met his gaze steadily. The company needed that foothold in the region. The timing was advantageous. Advantageous. He laughed harshly. That's what we're calling bribery now. Nothing was proven. Vivian's fingers tapped the desk. Nothing explicit was ever done, but enough to destroy us if it came out. Alex's voice shook. Enough to give our enemies ammunition. How many other secrets are buried in our archives, Mother? She stood, walking to the window. Everything I did was to protect this family, this legacy. By compromising its foundations? He stepped closer. By teaching me control matters more than conscience? Oh, don't be naive. She turned, eyes flashing. You think empires are built on clean hands? Your father understood. My father is dead. Alex's words cut like glass. And his obsession with empire cost him everything real. Vivian flinched. I won't apologize for protecting what we built. No. Alex gathered the files. You never do. He moved to the door, then paused. Maya's pregnant. His mother's sharp intake of breath was the only sound in the sudden stillness. "I almost lost her," he continued quietly, "because I followed your example. Control over trust, image over truth." He met Vivian's eyes. "I won't make that mistake again." "Alex." For the first time, uncertainty cracked her perfect facade. "A child changes everything. The company is not worth sacrificing my family for." He straightened. "I'm going to expose whoever's behind these attacks, not just for Vale Global, but for Maya, for our child." His hand tightened on the doorknob. "And then we're going to have a long discussion about transparency in this company's operations. All of them." He left her standing in the darkening study, her reflection fractured in the window glass. The files in his hand felt heavy with the weight of secrets and choices, his mother's, his father's, his own. His phone buzzed. Daniel had found another connection between Blackwood and recent Vale stock trades. They were getting closer to proving deliberate manipulation. Alex thought of Maya, probably still working late with Daniel despite everything, of their child, growing beneath her heart, of the legacy he wanted to leave them, one built on truth, not convenient shadows. The sky had deepened to indigo when he reached his car. Behind him, lights burned in his mother's study, a lonely glow in the gathering dark. He didn't look back as he drove away toward the office where Maya and Daniel waited with their discoveries. Some legacies needed to end, some truths needed to surface, and some choices, like love, like honor, mattered more than empire. The Bloomberg ticker flashed red. "Breaking whistleblower claims systemic issues at Vale Global." Alex stood in the war room, watching screens light up with Evelyn Hale's perfectly orchestrated attack. Her complaint to the SEC was a masterpiece of insinuation, just enough truth to sound credible, enough lies to destroy. "She's calling for a full audit," Daniel said, scanning the document. "Claims the subsidiary transfers were part of a larger pattern." The Financial Times headline cut deeper. "Vale CEO's personal distractions cloud leadership." Maya's hand found his in the darkness of the room. He gripped it, anchoring himself against the storm. "They're coordinating," she said quietly. "The whistleblower complaint, the tabloids, it's too precise." His phone buzzed. Shareholders demanding explanations, board members calling emergency meetings, the carefully built world of Vale Global trembling on its axis. The special board meeting felt like an execution. 14 faces around the mahogany table, all wearing identical masks of concern. "The market is responding poorly," Richardson said, tapping quarterly projections. "We've lost 12% since opening." "A special committee," another suggested, "to oversee operations during the audit." Alex felt the noose tightening. The allegations are false. "The truth hardly matters now." Vivian cut in smoothly. She sat perfectly poised, every silver hair in place. "It's about perception, about protecting the company." He recognized the knife in her voice, wrapped in maternal concern. The same tone she'd used when explaining why his father worked through birthdays, holidays, life itself. "Perhaps," she continued, "a temporary step back would be prudent. Let the committee handle the immediate crisis." The message was clear. Sacrifice yourself for the greater good. Like father, like son. Later, in his office, Vivian found him staring at the city lights. "It's not personal," she said. "It's business?" He didn't turn. "It's always business with you, Mother, even family." "The company is family." "No." Now he faced her. "The company is power, control, but it's not love." She flinched. "I'm trying to protect you. By asking me to abandon my principles, my child. By asking you to be practical." Her voice hardened. "One personal scandal we could manage, but this, the board won't stand for it. Then let them fall. He straightened. I won't. Maya sat in a quiet coffee shop, watching Janet Chen, the Wall Street Journal's most feared investigative reporter, review their evidence. It's circumstantial, Janet said finally. The timing of Hale's trades, the shell companies, the PR firm connections. It suggests coordination, but doesn't prove it. We know they're working together, Maya insisted. Evelyn Hale engineered this whole thing. Knowing isn't proving. Janet closed her laptop. I need hard evidence. Server logs, payment trails, something that proves direct collaboration between Hale and the leak source. And if we get that, then I'll burn their whole house down. Janet's smile was sharp. But without it, they'll bury you in countersuits. Maya's phone buzzed. Daniel, urgent. In Vale's server room an hour later, Daniel showed them what he'd found. An invoice from BlackRock Communications, Hale's PR firm, to a numbered account in Singapore. The same account, he said, that paid for the server space where the leaked documents first appeared. That's it. Maya leaned forward. That's our proof. Almost. Daniel grimaced. The full payment records are on their internal server. Getting them means breaking federal cybersecurity laws. Alex stood silent, watching the screens pulse with data. One decision: risk everything on a digital heist, or watch his family's legacy crumble. The shareholder meeting is scheduled for Monday. Daniel added quietly. 3 days from now. Maya touched Alex's arm. Whatever you decide— No. He covered her hand with his. Whatever we decide. Together. The night deepened around Vale Tower, city lights reflecting off glass and steel. In the server room, 3 people stared at screens holding either salvation or ruin. A message flashed. Another news alert. Vale Board announces emergency shareholder meeting, CEO position under review. The clock was ticking. They had 3 days to expose the truth, or lose everything they'd built. Not just the company, but the future they'd glimpsed together, a future worth more than empire or legacy. Maya's hand tightened on his. In the blue glow of monitors, her eyes held the same fierce determination he'd seen that first night at the gala, when she'd looked past his walls and seen something worth fighting for. Daniel's fingers hovered over keys, waiting for the command that would either save them or damn them. Sir? He asked quietly. Alex looked at Maya, at the subtle curve of her belly where their child grew, at the strength in her stance that had never wavered. The choice crystallized. Power or truth? Control or trust? His mother's path or his own? In the humming darkness of the server room, surrounded by the digital heartbeat of the empire he'd inherited, Alex Vale prepared to risk everything for something greater than legacy. The screens flickered, waiting for their decision. Outside, the city slept, unaware of the war being waged in glass towers and secret servers. Dawn was still hours away. The next 3 days would change everything. The only question was, what would be left standing when the dust settled? The Vale Global Conference Room hummed with tension. Alex stood at the window, watching dawn break over the city while Daniel laid out their plan. The subpoena's ready, Daniel said. Our forensics team found enough probable cause linking BlackRock Communications to the leaked documents. Judge Warren signed it an hour ago. Maya studied the timeline on her tablet. How long until they have to comply? 24 hours. Daniel's fingers drummed the table. But we have a parallel track. My contact at CyberDefend is standing by to trace the transaction records as soon as BlackRock's servers respond to the legal request. Alex turned from the window. And if they try to delete evidence? Already covered. The subpoena includes preservation orders for all digital records. Any deletion attempt creates a separate criminal offense. The deposition room felt like a pressure cooker. Board member James Harrison sat across from Vale's attorneys, his own lawyer whispering urgently in his ear. Security footage from Vale's server room played on a screen, showing Harrison accessing restricted areas after hours. "Mr. Harrison," Vale's lead counsel began, "please explain why you accessed the subsidiary financial records at 11:42 p.m. on October 15th. Harrison's face remained blank. "I was conducting routine oversight." "Through a masked VPN?" Daniel pushed forward a technical log. "The same VPN that traced back to Evelyn Hale's private network?" Color drained from Harrison's face. His lawyer called for a break, but Alex stepped forward. "How long have you been feeding her information, James?" The silence stretched until Harrison's composure cracked. "She approached me 6 months ago, said Vale needed new leadership, someone who understood modern markets." "And the payoff?" Maya asked quietly. Harrison's laugh was bitter. "A guaranteed board seat at Hale, Industries after the takeover." In Vivian's private study, old ghosts emerged from sealed files. She sat rigid in her chair while Alex read through documents detailing a controversial land deal from 15 years ago. "The indigenous rights weren't properly secured," Alex said, his voice flat. "You knew that when you pushed the development through." "I did what was necessary." Vivian's hands trembled slightly. "The company was vulnerable. That deal saved us from a hostile takeover. By sacrificing others. By protecting you!" Her composure cracked. "Your father had just died. The vultures were circling. I couldn't let them tear apart everything we'd built, everything meant for you." Maya watched mother and son, seeing the weight of legacy and love twisted by fear. "I'm not proud," Vivian continued softly, "but I would do it again to keep you safe." The evidence arrived in encrypted bursts. Daniel's team worked through the night, piecing together transaction trails that led from BlackRock Communications through shell companies to the Singapore account. "It's bulletproof," Daniel announced, spreading documents across Alex's desk. Evelyn's firm paid for the server space, coordinated the leak timing, even hired the photographers for the staged photos. Maya studied the payment records. The amounts match exactly. No one can claim this is circumstantial. And Harrison's testimony confirms the insider angle. Alex reached for Maya's hand. "It's enough." The legal team presented their findings to Judge Warren in chambers. The judge reviewed the evidence, his expression growing darker. "This goes beyond corporate espionage," he said finally. "I'm forwarding these files to the Securities Commission. Ms. Hale will have serious questions to answer." Outside the courthouse, reporters caught wind of the meeting. Alex and Maya slipped out through a service entrance while Daniel handled the press. In Alex's penthouse, they planned tomorrow's public statement. Maya sat cross-legged on the couch, editing his draft. "You need to be completely honest," she said, "about everything. The arranged date, the PR manipulation, all of it." She met his eyes. "Show them the real Alex Vale." He nodded slowly. "And us? The baby? That's our truth to tell, on our terms." Her hand rested on her stomach. "No more manufactured narratives." Daniel arrived with final polling data. The shareholders are split. Tomorrow's confession could swing it either way. "It doesn't matter," Alex said quietly. "I'm done playing their game." The city glittered below as Alex finished rehearsing his statement. Maya watched him pace, seeing not the polished CEO, but the man who'd finally chosen truth over power. "The board will fight back," Daniel warned. "Vivian too, maybe. Let them." Alex's voice was steady. "I'm not my father. I won't sacrifice what matters for what merely looks good." Maya touched the final draft of his confession. Tomorrow he would stand before cameras and admit how his image had been crafted, controlled, false. He would acknowledge the arranged date that sparked real love, the corporate games that nearly cost him everything, and his commitment to transparency going forward. It was either career suicide or redemption. There would be no middle ground. Daniel's phone buzzed with news alerts. The financial press was already circling, sensing blood in the water. Tomorrow's shareholders' meeting loomed like a gathering storm. But tonight, in the quiet hours before dawn, 3 people stood united against the coming chaos. They had truth, evidence, and each other. Sometimes Maya thought that had to be enough. Alex stepped away from the window, his decision made. Tomorrow would bring judgment, consequences, perhaps ruin. But for the first time in his life, he would face it as himself. Not as the carefully constructed heir to the Vale Empire, but as a man choosing his own path. The night deepened around them, alive with possibility and danger. In less than 12 hours, everything would change. Alex stood before his bedroom mirror, adjusting his tie for the 1,000th time. The speech lay on his dresser, each word chosen with painful care. No more crafted image, no more strategic deflections. His phone buzzed, a message from Daniel. Press already gathering, security in place. In his kitchen, he rehearsed again, letting the words settle into truth. For years, I've allowed others to shape my public persona. The gala appearance 3 months ago was arranged, a calculated move to present an image the board deemed necessary. But something unexpected happened. I met someone real, someone who showed me the cost of manufactured narratives. His hands trembled slightly. He steadied them against the counter. The Vale Global Auditorium hummed with tension. Shareholders filled the front rows, press crews jostled for position, and board members sat stone-faced on the dais. Maya slipped in through a side door, choosing a seat near the back. Her navy dress was simple, professional, a deliberate choice to avoid the spotlight. At precisely noon, Alex approached the podium. Camera lights flashed. He didn't refer to his notes. 3 months ago, I attended a charity gala as part of a carefully orchestrated public relations strategy. The board arranged an accompaniment, believing a softer image would benefit Vale Global. That arrangement brought me face to face with Maya Carter. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Maya sat perfectly still. What began as manipulation became something genuine, but recent attacks on Vale Global and Ms. Carter were orchestrated by rival interests. We have concrete evidence linking Evelyn Hale's firm, BlackRock Communications, to both the subsidiary transfer allegations and the manufactured scandals. He detailed the evidence methodically. Bank transfers, server logs, deposition testimony. The room grew eerily quiet. But exposing others' deceptions isn't enough. I must acknowledge my own participation in crafting false narratives. Starting today, I'm stepping down from the Executive Advisory Committee, a body that has enabled manipulation of both corporate and personal matters for the sake of appearance. Vivian's sharp intake of breath was audible. Board members shifted uncomfortably. I'm proposing a restructured leadership model with transparent oversight and clear separation between corporate governance and personal autonomy. The full proposal has been distributed to shareholders. He paused, then spoke more softly. To Maya, I apologize for ever treating your voice as something to be managed rather than heard. You deserved better. The fallout was immediate. Vale Global stock dropped 7 points, then stabilized as legal experts began dissecting the evidence against Evelyn. The SEC announced a preliminary inquiry. Social media exploded with both support and criticism. Maya fielded calls from reporters all afternoon, declining comment. Her phone buzzed with a text from Alex. Can we talk? Just us. They met in her small apartment, neutral ground. Alex had loosened his tie, looking more human without the corporate armor. I've drafted a statement, he said, holding out a folder. But I want you to write it. Whatever you want to say about us, the pregnancy, your business, it's your story to tell. Maya took the folder but didn't open it. Words are easy, Alex. I need to see action. I know. He sat on her worn couch. I've already filed paperwork establishing a trust for the baby, structured so you have complete control. No strings, no corporate oversight. And I'm restructuring my board position to prevent any interference with our personal choices. And us. I want to try again. Really try, without manipulation or power plays. Maybe start with coffee tomorrow? Talk about practical things, doctors, schedules, boundaries? Maya studied him, the uncertainty in his posture, the absence of his usual control. Coffee sounds good, she said finally. He reached into his pocket and withdrew something small, a simple silver compass on a chain. It was my grandmother's. He said quietly. Before the money. Before Vale Global. She gave it to me when I was 10, said it would help me find my way home when I got lost. I did get lost, Maya, in image and expectation and fear. She touched the compass gently. It wasn't a grand gesture or an expensive peace offering, just a piece of history, of truth. Stay tonight? She asked softly. Their lovemaking was different this time. Equal, honest, without the weight of secrets. Afterward they lay tangled in her sheets, planning tomorrow's coffee date and doctor's appointments. We'll figure it out, Maya murmured, half asleep. Day by day. Alex held her close, feeling their child growing between them. Outside, the city hummed with news cycles and market reactions. But here, in this small apartment with mismatched furniture and well-worn books, he was finally, simply himself. The compass lay on the nightstand, pointing true north. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, board resistance, press speculation, the practical maze of building a life together. But tonight they slept peacefully. Two people choosing truth over appearance, love over power. Maya's hand found his in the darkness. No more manufactured moments, no more strategic moves, just this. Real touch, real trust, real possibility. The regulator's final report landed on Alex's desk with a satisfying thud. Vale Global was cleared of wrongdoing, while Evelyn Hale's firm faced multiple federal charges for market manipulation and corporate espionage. The document detailed months of investigation. Shell companies, doctored records, coordinated smear campaigns. BlackRock Communications would not survive the scandal. Inside Vale Global, change rippled through every level. Daniel now headed a reformed executive committee, with independent oversight ensuring transparency. Board meetings, once dominated by Vivienne's iron grip, now welcomed diverse voices and scrutiny. Vivienne's public admission of her past real estate dealings had shocked the business world. I made choices I believed necessary, she'd said at a shareholders' meeting, but protecting the company shouldn't mean compromising our humanity. She'd stepped down from direct control, taking an advisory role that let her begin healing her relationship with Alex. Maya's pregnancy progressed with quiet joy. She'd insisted on keeping her modest apartment through the first trimester, though she spent most nights at Alex's penthouse. They attended morning sickness together, Alex holding her hair back, learning to be present in unglamorous moments. The magazines want exclusive pregnancy photos, Alex mentioned one morning, watching Maya struggle with maternity business wear. They can want, she replied, adjusting her blazer over her growing belly. This is ours. Her business flourished with careful independence. Vale Global became a client, not an owner, with Maya insisting on separate contracts and clear boundaries. She expanded thoughtfully, hiring staff and moving to larger premises, but maintained her ethical sourcing and community focus. They attended parenting classes in a small studio downtown, where no one treated Alex like a CEO. He learned swaddling techniques alongside other nervous fathers-to-be, while Maya mastered breathing exercises. Their instructor, a no-nonsense grandmother type, corrected Alex's diaper technique without ceremony. The baby shower was intimate, just 30 close friends in Maya's favorite restaurant after hours. Her staff handled the catering, serving comfort food instead of luxury fare. Daniel gave them a handmade mobile. Vivian, showing growth, brought a simple silver rattle that had been Alex's. No photographers, Maya had insisted. No press releases. Alex watched her open gifts, noting how she'd transformed his world. The man who once measured everything in market share now counted baby kicks and prenatal vitamins. Their hospital suite was private, but modest. Maya's labor started at dawn, 16 hours of determination. Alex never left her side, learning that real power meant supporting her strength, not controlling outcomes. "I can't," Maya gasped during transition. "You are," Alex whispered, supporting her back. "You're already doing it." Their daughter arrived at midnight, 7 pounds of possibility. They named her Sophie, after Maya's grandmother. No corporate legacy names, no dynastic weight. Just love and hope in 7 letters. Now, in the warm afternoon light of their new home, a compromise between his penthouse and her apartment, Alex cradled Sophie while Maya rested. The baby's dark eyes studied him with newborn intensity. "I promise you'll never be a press release," he murmured. "Never be a strategic move or a market correction." Maya watched from the doorway, her postpartum body soft and real in simple clothes. No styled photos, no managed image. Just them, building something true. On the mantel, a single photograph stood. Not the old image of Alex's lonely childhood, but a new portrait. Maya hugely pregnant in a sundress, Alex in casual clothes, both laughing at something genuine. It wasn't perfect. Maya's hair was wind-tousled, Alex's smile slightly crooked. But it was real. Sophie made a tiny sound, drawing both parents' attention. Alex shifted, making room as Maya joined them on the couch. "Vale's stock hit a record high today," he said quietly. Maya replied, adjusting Sophie's blanket. "And how many diapers did you change?" 4. I'm diversifying my portfolio." She laughed, the sound warm and free. Outside, the city hummed with commerce and ambition. Inside, they had built something better than empire. "The board wants quarterly projections tomorrow," Alex continued, watching Sophie's eyes drift closed. "And we have that developmental pediatrician at 10. Maya added, "plus Sophie's 1-month checkup. I'll move the board call. Family first." The words weren't a strategy or a press statement. They were simply truth, learned over months of choosing love over power, partnership over control. Maya curled closer, her head on his shoulder. Sophie slept between them, tiny fingers curled around Alex's thumb. The afternoon light painted them gold, far from boardrooms and balance sheets. On his phone, notifications piled up. Market alerts, meeting requests, the endless churn of corporate life. Alex ignored them all, watching his daughter breathe. The man who once commanded economies now measured wealth differently. In first smiles, peaceful naps, quiet moments between diaper changes. His kingdom had shrunk to this couch, this family, this love. And finally it was enough. Maya reached for the baby, her movements natural and unhurried. "She needs feeding." Alex handed Sophie over with practiced care, watching Maya settle into the nursery's rocking chair. No photographers documented this moment, no press releases framed its significance. Just afternoon sunlight, baby sounds, and the quiet victory of choosing what mattered. Through the window, Vale Global's tower gleamed against the skyline. Still his, still powerful, but no longer his whole world. Here, in this room with worn carpet and handmade blankets, he had built something far more valuable. Sophie's soft nursing sounds filled the room. Maya hummed an old lullaby. Alex stood in the doorway, tie loosened, watching his family with wonder. Power without love had been hollow. Empire without connection, meaningless. But this was real. This was home. Thank you for listening. Stories connect us in the most unexpected ways. If you felt that spark today, make sure you're subscribed. I share a new one daily, and the next might change your day.